But you had to play it cool, had to do it your way, had to be a fool, had to throw it all away. Too hard school, and you thought you were here to stay? If that were true, it wouldn't matter anyway. This is the Community Solutions Podcast. Jason Bradley, Andrew Richter from deep in the bowels of our underground lair, containing more destructive power than one single session of the Minnesota legislature.
Which thankfully is done.
Oh, I feel like throwing a party, except now I can't afford it anymore.
Well, I can, but I still am not, because it's
Yeah.
I've never been happier for a session to be over.
Oh, no kidding. And usually I'm wishing they didn't start, but this time I'm really wishing they didn't start.
Yeah, it's just bad all around. I mean, Republicans caving on a bonding bill to cap it off. Just exactly what I predicted.
Yeah.
Remember them holding it up a couple of years ago, and then the Senate voted 64-3 for it. I mean, what a deal they reached.
Thanks, conservatives.
Well, I've said before. Look, here's what I want to say about. By the way, I have no idea on the song.
Hard School by Guns N' Roses.
Oh, I know
a fairly
them.
new release. I don't know how new the song is, but it's something that they have released since the old band got back together.
Sweet Child of Mine, was it?
That was one of their songs.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So then I'm going to give myself credit for that.
No.
Guns, that's that Axel guy?
Yeah.
Who named their kid Axel?
My great grandpa's name was Axel. My grandpa's
okay, that
middle name
answers
was
that
Axel.
question then.
It's a good Swedish name.
I thought you were Chippewa or whatever.
I am part Cherokee. I am half Swede. The rest of me is split between English and Cherokee.
What a combination.
A little more English than Cherokee. Well, down in Kentucky, you had that. You had the English that, they came into the country. A lot of them weren't the ones that traveled west, like this area. You had the Scandinavians here. You had some Germans. You had Germans a lot in Wisconsin.
Settlements.
Going down, you had your 13 original states, and then, down Kentucky
was one of the next ones
yes.
to get on there. Yeah,
absolutely. So you had a lot of English that were down in that area. It's right next to Virginia, so you had your English, and then you had your Cherokee squaws, and I guess that
I just want to know, they still have teeth down there? I just want to know they still have teeth.
Yeah, they still have teeth down there.
The greatest thing I think I ever heard about Kentucky was that they invented the toothbrush.
Yeah.
Because it was if it was everywhere else, it would be called the teeth brush. So that's how it was the toothbrush.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Yes.
Jay, you following this debt ceiling stuff?
Oh, I'm trying not to.
Here's what drives me crazy.
But I am, yes.
Why is it that if we don't raise the debt ceiling, we have the Treasury Secretary coming out there trying to say people won't get their Social Security checks? Why is that? What does that have to do with the debt ceiling?
Yeah, nothing.
They have my money, so
Right.
what does it have to do with that?
They shouldn't be taking out debt to pay Social Security yet.
But see, that's the whole thing about, like, a city will threaten you with cutting police and fire or something like that. See, to me, that's what I'm hearing. Oh, well, might not get your Social Security check. Well, then give me my tax money back.
Yeah.
They're not getting it. Where's it going?
I'm definitely not giving it to you so you can buy $7,000 hammers for the Pentagon and then give the rest to Ukraine.
Yeah, and China, or subsidize somebody's solar panel.
Yeah.
Which, I thought the left didn't believe in corporate welfare, but I guess they do if they like it.
Well.
So, what is the deal with this? I mean, the funny thing, you got Biden throwing a little hissy fit.
Yeah.
Like he's 7 years old. Look, Republicans might be winning this to a degree because the president has no leverage.
Right.
He has to work with the House, and he knows it. He's just out there bloviating. He needs a rattle or something. But I come back to this. They're talking about these spending cuts that are being proposed, and these spending cuts are so minuscule. They're so small as to be almost non-existent. Look, I'm not criticizing the Republicans here. They have a small majority of like 14 seats or 12. I mean, it's like 224 to 210. It's not very much.
Right.
A couple of them wander off the reservation and you're screwed. Something has to get through the Senate as well, which will take 60 votes.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have it. I'm sure it's already prearranged. They're just waiting for the go signal. But I come back to this. Why are we threatened every time with this crap if we don't raise the debt ceiling? We're always threatened with up. We're going to have to lay people. Why?
Yeah, we're going to have to make cuts to the armed services.
Yeah, I know.
Gonna
Soldiers won't get paid.
Right.
You're going to have to lay off corrections officers.
Really?
Like, what?
You're not going to start with like a national park closing or something?
Or maybe Congress don't get paid for a little while. Why doesn't Congress cut themselves?
That'd be all right.
So we got till June, first week of June to keep on this charade, which is weird because the federal budget starts October 1st.
Right.
So I don't understand why we have to raise the debt ceiling now. We're still on last year's budget. I don't get that, but I don't care either. So what's your take on the old debt ceiling debate? I mean, and listening to everybody, credit to Kevin McCarthy. He for once, the Republican sounds like the only adult in the room.
Right.
He's articulate. He's been very level-headed when he's been talked. He has not taken the bait to get into the Gingrich Clinton stuff and the Boehner and Obama where they had to go in the mud like that. I think McCarthy's been much smarter than people I thought he would be. So what's going to happen on this?
Well,
are we going to cut those paper clips out of the house?
I mean, we're not making huge spending cuts here, so I don't know what he's balking at either. If it looks like the Republicans are winning it, so he can't give them that, if that's what the play is. But I find it interesting that Biden was saying, well, if I'm not even coming to the table for this, as it stands. I'm not going to do this. If need be, I'll just do it myself, and I have the right under the 14th Amendment of the Constitution.
Which is nonsense.
It's
the Supreme
nonsense.
Court would strike that down in 2 seconds.
Let me read it to you. Section 4 of the 14th Amendment, validity of public debt. So that's where he's claiming this comes in. The validity of the public debt of the United States, authorized by law, including debts incurred for payment of pensions and bounties for services in suppressing insurrection or rebellion, shall not be questioned. But neither the United States nor any state shall assume or pay any debt or obligation incurred in aid of insurrection or rebellion against the United States or any claim for the loss of emancipation of any slave, but all such debts, obligations, and claims shall be held illegal and void. You tell me where that anything fits in there.
It doesn't matter. Every spending bill has to start in the House.
Right.
The president can't do this.
He can't. That's in Article 1 of the Constitution.
He knows he can't.
Yes.
Supreme Court would strike. I wonder if Sotomayor and Kagan would even vote for that. I mean, because you're opening the doors. This is the thing. You're opening the door to any president doing. Let's say we have a Republican president and a Democratic House.
Yeah.
And the Republican president, well, you know what? I'm just going to unilaterally cut all this.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the precedent said, look, I think you're right to a degree. I think the Republicans are winning on this, and he's going to have to cave. I mean, ultimately, when you have a party opposite that controls the purse, even though Republicans give 95% of the purse away,
they do.
You still have to come to the table. He has no choice but to come to the table.
Right.
And by the way, the Treasury Secretary has pretty much said the same thing, undermining what you just said. I heard her over the weekend saying, "Oh, we're gonna have to reach some sort of compromise," even though she brought out all the scare tactics. It was, I don't know if she didn't get the memo or what happened, but you got the administration undermining itself. I just laugh at this idea that you're going to threaten my dad with his Social Security check if Kevin
Right.
McCarthy doesn't pass a debt ceiling with no conditions.
Yeah.
Now, come on. I mean, that's a joke, and we all know it.
It is a joke.
You're not going to pay soldiers fighting overseas or doing whatever they're doing. I mean that's nonsense, and we all know it. So
It is.
I just laugh at it, and I hardly believe anybody who doesn't watch The View believes that that's true. I just think that's crap. So look, Republicans are picking their fights right now, and little victories are going to come here and there. When you control 1 out of 3, I know the Senate is 50-50 or 51-50 or whatever it is. But again, I mean, if whatever the House passes, the fix is in already.
Yeah.
Sorry, but they've already done the negotiating. They're just trying to see who wins in the court of public opinion. So, for once, I think the Republicans are actually winning that for once.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, that is rare that Republicans win that.
Well, I mean, consider it. You're going up against a dementia patient.
True.
Yes.
But I mean, I thought when Boehner was going against Obama, I thought Boehner was winning for a while. And I don't know if he couldn't keep the Republicans had a larger majority then. I don't know if he couldn't keep them all on the same page or what happened there, or I think Boehner fell short of doing what the Dems do, which is threaten people with a primary or
he probably cried.
Well, he may be, and I might have too. I mean, but I thought Republicans were winning that before. I thought they had Democrats more willing to work with them too. I don't know that they have that right now.
They don't. It's so split. Well, they do have some Democrats willing to work with them on the spending cuts.
They've got maybe 20.
Maybe. Yeah.
I mean, 7 in the Senate. The ones looking at next year, I'm sure, are thinking about it, from Sherrod Brown to Joe Manchin to people who are, especially the Democrats up in the red states. I mean, right now they're going to lose big time. Even Joe Manchin, who's a more reliable Republican vote than about a third of the Republican senators. Yeah. So, I mean,
that's true.
Yeah. I mean, there's some in trouble. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but I just know that I ain't going to be happy either way. I just know I just set the bar low, and I'm just not going to be happy no matter what they do.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't shut down for a year and a half, then I'm not happy. But the whole thing is when government sits there, argues with each other, and ends up doing nothing, I'm cool with it.
That's a good day.
Yeah, that's a great day. I'm cool with that. And I go back to this. It should take 60% or 2/3 of these houses. It should take that to get real change, because that would get rid of this 50+1. It would get into this ramrodding source. Half the people feel like they're not being represented, and that's why.
Yep.
Because one side wins by a vote or two, and they just ramrod whatever they want to, and I'd like to see that change. So
I would too.
All right. Anyhow, so there's your debt ceiling update. How about I raise my personal debt ceiling? Can I do that? Why can the government just vote to, put more on my shoulders all the time?
Well, because
they suck.
Because they can.
They suck. They all stink.
To save our butts at any time, we can tax the people to cover our butts, right?
That's true. I remember where I heard that.
Yes.
All right, Jay. What's going on this week here? What's the next horrible thing that we have to discuss?
Well, this does have local implications. The education bill.
Yeah, it always has local stuff. Can I say something just generally speaking?
Yes.
This is what I love about both parties over. And I don't know how I'm going to deal with this when I'm governor. I got some ideas. You send me an omnibus bill, I got a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Every time whoever's in charge tries to push what they want, and whoever is not in charge calls that a mandate, or it's against local control, blah, blah, blah. And we have a lot of that again.
Yes.
With a lot of that kind of rhetoric, whoever is the minority talks about local control and all that. And whoever's the majority just ignores that and does whatever they want to.
Yes.
So it's best to sort of, I don't know, kind of ignore that talk as far as I'm concerned. But what do we got going on in education?
Well, I got one question.
We don't have better results. I know that.
That's for sure. Yes, state aid for K through 12 education is primed to dramatically increase in the coming biennium. This is from the Minnesota House of Representatives website. So it's right from the horse's mouth or patootie. The omnibus education.
Of course.
Yes. It's a load of road apples. Okay. The omnibus education finance bill would make appropriations of $23.2 billion, a 10.6 increase over base spending, or $2.22 billion in raw dollars.
Oh, that's just not enough. Is that fully funding?
I was going to ask that. It should be fully funded, right? That's what they've been crying about forever, and now they have control of everything. So education should now officially be fully funded, right?
Well, we shouldn't hear that whining anymore.
No, there shouldn't be any whining. It should be fully funded. There should be no more need to have all of the lobbying. You can go home. You can stay home. You can...
We should mention,
cry on your pillow.
We should mention this is, of course, the old conference committee. The House passing one, the Senate passing another. Then they go off and hide somewhere.
Yeah.
And then hodgepodge it all together. It's all, it's all already preconceived.
Yeah.
And then ramrod it through. And, of course, we have the governor with the backbone of a chocolate eclair who's going to just sign, in 5 years, has never vetoed anything, which is such a disgrace.
Yes.
God, it's a disgrace.
Yes, it is a disgrace.
Why do we have a governor? We're just going to sign everything that's at his face.
Because here's the thing. Both parties agree that schools desperately need this funding boost. Let me stop right there.
Yeah.
There's a problem. They both want to spend it. Nobody's trying to be conservative here financially and hold back
What
a
happened to
certain
the
amount
local
of money.
control?
Yeah. It's a 327-page bill. It is the DFL bill that won 70-60 in the House on the party line vote.
Yeah, the compromise bill was passed 70-62, so I don't know who wasn't voting.
Yeah.
The House, because there's a new article from May 16th that I'm reading here, Jay. So you read yours, I'll read mine. But there was that was the original bill that was passed. The Senate bill had to have a few things taken in and out, and then the final version passed May 16th.
Yeah.
And I don't know when the Senate passed it, but it was a conference committee compromise, so the fix is in.
Right. Absolutely. That's that smoke-filled back room, that the Star Chamber where they go to make all this happen.
Well, I still come back to this. If a city council did that, everybody there would be arrested. Why is it that the state can go hide in public, after 4 months of hearings and passing nothing, then you go off and hide for the final bill? That's ridiculous.
Right. Well, here's the two takes on the bill. You talked to Representative Cheryl Dwight Yoakum from DFL Hopkins, the bill's sponsor, and
Yoakum.
Yes. Argues this infusion of state dollars represents an historic, I don't like an historic, ahistoric, right? I mean, with H, I think I don't know.
That sounds like something I say.
Either, but
I would say that. Ain't it?
Investment in Minnesota schools after 20 years of underfunding. So now they're not underfunded, right? They're funded now, fully funded.
20 years
They
has all
better
been
be.
made up.
They better not come asking for more money.
They'll come asking for more money.
Our
Of course
proposal
they will.
stabilizes school funding, supports the health and well-being of students, works on equity and innovation in our schools, increases career pathways
Oh,
and
God.
connections with our local communities, as well as building up and diversifying our workforce. What does that have to do with anything?
Well, how can you diversify a workforce? You have to go get a degree.
Yeah.
You have to get it in teaching. You have to want to teach here. You have to want to teach. I mean, that again, that's a headline grabber. That's all that is.
Yeah.
You can't force people to go into a certain field.
Right.
Well,
I'll read the Republican response, then I want your comments here. So, the Republicans fiercely disagree, laying out their case against the bill during a pre-session press conference. The DFL bill focuses on mandates, micromanaging our schools, restricting student discipline, and closing pathways to licensing, leaving our schools with fewer teachers, says Representative Paul Torkelson from Hanska.
Hanska.
Yes,
Where the hell is Hanska?
I'm on it.
What's my response? Heard it all before. State's been putting mandates on education since the 50s. It's nothing new.
Yeah.
Micromanaging, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think the state has a role in education, and I don't know that and I'll get into a few things in here in a second. Some of them really scare me, but quite frankly, that's sort of just the old thing I hear from the minority party. I didn't really hear much of a counter alternative. I didn't hear anything about school choice. I didn't hear anything about changing the funding formulas. I mean, what's it's easy to vote against. Response was probably written 4 months ago.
Yeah. Probably true. Hanska is due south of New Ulm and due west of Mankato in Brown County, with a population of 402 at the 2010 census.
Well,
Yes.
that's the Republicans. They got those sparsely populated areas.
Yes. But yes, that's a lot of money.
Well, the fiscal stuff is a problem. But when you look, we'll get to the policy stuff in a second, but notable appropriations would include, now this is from the May 16th article, $74.4 million for student support personnel aid and workforce development to attend to students' mental, behavioral, and physical health needs. Why don't we just call that a jobs program? That's the WPA right there.
Yeah.
I mean, hold on. To support personnel aid and workforce development. That's a jobs program.
Yeah.
They're going to hire a bunch of people. That's all that is.
Right.
You know. So we got the New Deal here. Here I love this. $45.2 million for school library aid. Kids don't read books today, do they?
No.
So
They really don't.
why do we keep building libraries?
I don't know.
Shouldn't we, if everything is online now, why do we have the need for libraries at all?
Because that's where you go get your pornographic material.
Okay, well then we can keep it.
Yes.
No, but I mean, seriously, in a school, you can have a library with digital.
Yeah.
You know, you can. I mean, and it's actually cheap. It's not expensive.
Right.
You know, technology is cheaper than it's ever been. Why don't we convert the libraries into something like that? I mean, who goes there with the Dewey Decimal System, and reads, and they ban every decent book as Tom Sawyer and Laura Ingalls are all banned. So what's there? I mean, if you want to do a report nowadays, you don't go check out a book from the library. You go online.
Right.
So what's the point of having a damn library?
I don't know. We could save some jobs, I guess. But like I say, it's the only place you can go and force woke books about why do I feel funny. I think that's the name of one of them. On second
funny.
Graders.
$37 million for grow your own teacher grants.
Grow your own grants. Wow.
What do you call that? GYOTG? Instead of BYOB, it's GYOT. Grow your own teacher. Hey, you want teachers? You not grow your own. And of course, it's designed to increase the size and diversity of the teaching workforce. So what does that mean? Hire the minority, you don't get the money?
I guess it does, yeah.
Hey, how about
if you want a grant, you have to have a program in place to hire minority teachers.
Yeah, that's probably what it is.
Minorities or transgender.
Of course.
LGBT teachers.
Talk about another jobs program. $30 million to establish a special education teacher pipeline.
What if they get stuck?
I don't know. I guess the oil's going to have to get them out.
I thought that pipelines were bad.
$24.3 million for building safety and cybersecurity grants. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
If safety's such a big deal, why is the funding in terms of grants? Remember what a grant is. You're
not assured of getting a grant.
Grant is you got to do things to get the dough.
Right.
So what do they have to do?
You got to fill out an application, and you got to have a plan of how you're going to implement the thing that they want you to implement.
What's that?
I mean, this is total hook in the mouth stuff. This isn't we want our schools to be fully funded. This is if you want the money, you will do what we tell you to do. There are conditions, baby.
Well, there always is with a grant. $15 million for full-service community school grants. What's a community school?
Well, isn't that just a school in a community?
Well, you think. I mean,
what's full service, though? Like,
is that breakfast, lunch, and dinner?
Maybe. The teacher comes up and cleans your glasses. I
don't know. You got waiters at lunch. Food's bad enough. You don't need anybody serving it to you.
Yeah.
I mean, look at how they just spend your money. I mean, this is what I'm reading. This like $15 million for that, $30 million. But we'll never see that money.
No.
Can you imagine? They just sit around. They have all these billions of dollars they just make things up to where to go.
Mm-hmm.
How about, notice I haven't said one thing here about teacher performance, student performance, graduation standards.
Yep.
There's nothing in here about that.
Nothing about grades or graduation.
Well, we'll get to the policy stuff in a second, boy.
Oh boy, this gets even better the further down we go.
Yeah, it's going to get gooder. $9.9 million to cover 35% of the transportation sparsity and cross subsidy, up from the current rate of 18.2.
Wow.
We don't know that. And here's your favorite, Jay.
Yeah.
I think you who wrote this one. It was Pat from Saturday Night Live wrote this one. $2 million to kickstart the construction of gender-neutral bathrooms.
Let me tell you something about these gender-neutral bathrooms. I have a little bit of experience.
Sword fight!
No, here's what they do. And White Bear Lake School District has done this. I've been to some sporting events over there. They have everybody together. They're gender-neutral. Anybody can use them, boys or girls, and they're single stalls. And they go from the floor to the ceiling so nobody can see in, totally private. But anyone who has been around a guy long enough knows that they make a mess. So,
hey, if you have bad aim, speak for yourself.
I'm just saying it happens.
Well, like I tell women, it's harder to pee standing up.
Yeah, it is. So, but, every time I go in one, there's a mess on the floor. There's a mess on the toilet.
Do they have the tampon things in there?
I'm sure they do. I I get in and get out.
Roll your own.
Fast as I can.
You know what I do in there? I make
Yeah.
sure I can pass gas a couple times. I give a little gift
Yeah.
to whoever's in there.
My word. Yeah, it's terrible. To go along with that, $3.6 million for menstrual products and opioid antagonists, which the bill mandates schools now carry. Well, they did pass the bill, didn't they? They did pass the bill mandating that there be tampons in the boys' bathrooms now in schools.
Well, that's so they got something to play through a snot rocket with. How about this one?
Mm-hmm.
The bill calls for a plethora of policy changes.
Wait, before we get to policy changes, can we cover some other stuff?
Yeah, but you're reading a different one than I am.
I am. This is the House bill, or the House thing. $4 million for a newly established Office of the Inspector General to bolster grant funding oversight.
Yeah, I'm not sure that got in the final bill, though.
Did it not?
Because what I have is what got in the final bill. I'm not sure that did. It's still, look, what didn't get in now, they'll be pushing next time.
Right.
So it's just fine to read it. Yeah, so you're going to get money, and then we got to have money. People watch the money that somebody got from the money. Or something.
There, I think, were some other appropriations in there. Let's see, $705 million increase to the basic funding formula by 4% in fiscal year 2024 and 2% in fiscal year 2025.
Yes, that got through.
Wow.
The special ed money looks like it got through, too.
$85.3 million to permanently expand pre-kindergarten education to 12,360 seats statewide. Everybody that's kindergarten age gets to go to kindergarten, right? So what are you expanding?
Well, it's the pre-K. It's getting your kid in the system as soon as humanly possible. And remember,
who wants to do that?
They want to get rid of AM and PM kindergarten. Yeah. That's another thing. They want your kid there all day. They don't want you. They don't want you to have your hooks on your kids at all.
Right.
They want from the moment of birth. And then maybe like the first 6 months, because you can still abort like a 7-month-old here in Minnesota.
Right. That's true.
From that point on, they want your kid in the system, period.
Yeah.
No matter how they get it done. They haven't had the votes to mandate pre-K. I still don't think they do. But pre-K is getting close to where you're going to have to send your kid. You're going to have to send your 2-year-old to a pre-K.
I would never do it.
We're getting close to it.
I don't understand how they can mandate that.
Well, you change the requirement. It's not K through 12 anymore. It's E through 12. And that's a big thing that they've been pushing is that it's no longer K through 12.
Yeah.
You won't hear. Educrats won't say K through 12. They'll say E through 12.
Yeah.
It's all to condition us for that to happen.
Yeah. You mentioned the special education money. That's $730 million.
Golly, $730 million?
That's what it says here, yeah. $85 million to hire and train more student support personnel to attend to students' mental, behavioral, and physical health
I read
needs.
that dropped to 74 in the final.
Okay, but it's still passed, and that's still a lot of money. $81.8 million to reduce much of the English learner cross subsidy with a statutory goal of its elimination by 2027.
Yeah, it looks like that got in as well.
Okay, $73.2 million to overhaul literacy education.
Yes, 75 is what it got up to.
Oh my goodness. $65.9 million to pay paraprofessionals and special education instructors for prep time, professional development, and orientations.
I don't see that here.
Did that maybe get dropped?
Might have.
60.4, huh?
That was replaced, I think, by the pipeline thing.
Okay. Because I have that in here as well as the pipeline, so...
Unless it ended up being grants instead.
Right.
Because, it's possible.
Okay. Yeah, and these were major appropriations. $60.4 million to nearly double funding for American Indian education.
Okay. I don't know if that got in, but they
Okay.
got all their policy changes in.
Oh, fantastic.
Let's
talk about those.
Okay, well here's the policy changes. Adding indigenous education to states' academic standards over the next 10 years. Replacing Columbus Day with Indigenous Persons Day on the school calendar, and prohibiting schools from using Indian symbols or names as
Oh, you're
mascots
kidding me.
unless all 11 of the state's tribal nations sign off on an exemption request.
Are you kidding me? This is Peggy Flanagan's doing.
Well, maybe. I
This
want to
is-
say something, too.
Yes.
Civics and personal finance courses will be required for high school graduation, effective with students in 9th grade next school year. Now, that sounds good
Until
you realize what they're teaching.
right.
Now, should kids learn civics and learn finances? Of course they should.
Absolutely.
But I want to know what the curriculum is.
There is an addendum here on what I'm looking at. Adding civics and personal finances courses to the high school graduation requirements while embedding genocide studies
That
and
was-
ethnic studies in the social studies curriculum.
Yeah, that was the next one I was going to say.
okay.
Yeah. Holocaust and genocide studies beginning with the 26-27 school year. So that will happen now.
Yeah.
Now, I have no problem studying the Holocaust. That's
Exactly.
history. Kids should do
If
that.
it's presented honestly.
Yeah, I mean, but then I think there's a wave of anti-Semitism going on as well.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Jewish people don't like to portray themselves as victims.
Right.
So they don't quite seen that way. But the genocide, I mean, boy, that could really be twisted and turned.
Oh, absolutely. Instead of being like the Hutus and the Tutsis, which is
Rwanda.
a legitimate genocide, it's going.
Who was the
to
guy
be
down in Uruguay who tried to
Uruguay? Oh, it was
Idi Amin? Who tried
no. Idi Amin's Africa. Uruguay is in south of.
Yeah.
You mean
Uganda.
Uganda. Yeah.
Him and Kamala, the Ugandan giant.
Yes.
Yeah, there is real genocide out there. That's true.
Yes.
But how that's going to be
Chuck
portrayed.
Taylor in Liberia.
Yeah, how that's going to be portrayed in academia is something.
Right.
Boy, I'd get worried about real fast.
Absolutely, because they call a lot of things genocide.
Well, and here's the other thing. I mean,
Yeah.
to say that finance needs to be a part of graduate, why it's not right now, I don't know. But again, are districts free to do their own? Is the state going to mandate certain?
Are they going to teach communism instead of capitalism?
They could.
They could.
Or the quasi-capitalistic country that we live in now.
Yeah.
I mean, most students graduate and they couldn't tell you how a loan works. They couldn't tell you how, a bond works. They couldn't tell you how stocks are bought and sold. They couldn't tell you what a putting an option are. I mean, maybe that's a little further down, but I mean, it's like, geez, and believe me, you're going to encounter loans in your life,
Right.
no matter who you are.
Yeah.
Even the biggest communist on the face of the earth will take out a loan. Bernie Sanders has owed money to somebody in his life.
Yes.
Okay, so the idea that you shouldn't know about that, and I'd also like, I wouldn't like them to take this on because I don't trust how they would do it. Learning about the banking oligopoly and the Fed and again, this is something that we probably, like an alternative, would have to be taught on this. I just don't trust civics. Really, the DFL teaching civics.
Yeah. That's
almost an oxymoron.
right. Yeah, just about. That's akin to somebody from New York City teaching how to milk a cow. I don't know.
Well, they might know that. Who knows?
Yeah.
De Blasio, he might get milked once in a while. We don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Did you cover this one? Severely limiting the use of suspension, expulsion, and recess denial as punishments for elementary school students.
No, I didn't. Yeah, I mean, it is again. I mean, you know. So what? Kids screw up and they have to go to recess. I mean,
Yeah.
here's the thing. We talk about safe school. How can you talk about safe schools on one hand and then limit what schools can do discipline-wise on the other? They're talking about safer schools, but limiting discipline.
Right.
Which is which?
You can't have one without the other.
Safe schools, it's kind of like, your kid. You want your kid to, respect adults and do their homework. Well, how do you do that if you have no rules?
Right.
Hell, I need rules. I mean, what? That's impossible.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's all the race stuff, the diversity stuff. It'll be if a white kid does something, the book's thrown at you. If a minority does it, we'll I was going to say we'd send them to class with no dinner, but that won't happen at a public school. I can tell you that.
Right.
Have you seen anything yet on student performance?
I have not. So they mention literacy, but they really don't tell you what that means. They've mentioned, learning finance and civics, but we don't really know what that means.
Well, if you get a D- in it and get a diploma anyway, then you didn't really learn it.
Yeah.
Okay, I see the menstrual things. It doesn't say in the boys' bathroom though. And all school employees are set to receive full pay and benefits on e-learning days. Make sure of that.
Yeah.
Substantial modifications are planned for active shooter drills.
Okay.
What does that mean?
Read it to me one more time.
Modifications are planned for active shooter drills.
So I guess
You're a
they'll have
shooter
to
and the
do.
state's going to mandate how you react to it?
Well, maybe not how you react, but how many times a year you have to run a drill. Maybe I don't know, or maybe there will be modifications. You have to find exits and get X amount, distance away from the building. I don't know. Again, it's pretty vague.
Isn't that should the police be? Is that what they're there for?
Yeah.
To tell you how far to get back. Just listen to the guy in the uniform.
Maybe
he tells you to get away. Get away.
Maybe they could mandate schools like Robbinsdale fix their lockdown button in case there's an emergency. Maybe that's something that they could do, since that's been brought to the school board's attention. Many times.
I doubt it.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else in there that?
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't mean to. So, Representative Cheryl Dwight Yoakum.
Yes.
Her legislative assistant's name is Shamat Abrahaha.
What?
Then you have Senator Mary Kunesh, who's the person who I guess spearheaded the Senate bill. Her legislative assistant is Sama Rahajab.
Okay.
Do we live in Minnesota? I'm just curious. I mean, anybody named Bill or George or something anymore?
No.
I mean, what the hell?
No. Oh boy.
I just had to peek at that. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so Representative Patricia Moeller,
Yes.
who's a Republican, her legislative assistant is Rebecca Rayners. Hey, I can say that.
Yeah.
I know. It's good. Keep calling me racist. That's fine.
There is another provision in this bill that, unless we're not done with this part.
You can go ahead and keep going. I don't. Yeah.
Okay. There's a provision in the bill that prohibits post-secondary schools from participating in the post-secondary enrollment option program, PSEO. It's where someone who's a junior or senior in high school can go to college for a couple of years, get college credits. It's free to go because you're filling out the rest of your high school time. So you can graduate from high school and get 2 years of college done by taking college level courses. It prohibits post-secondary schools from participating in the post-secondary enrollment option program from requiring applicants submit a faith statement. So what this does is tells Christian schools, Christian colleges, and universities, if you have a faith statement, like you don't accept everybody into your school, if you require people to be a Christian, you don't get any money. Or sorry, you don't get to have the PSEO program on campus at your school. So automatically, that's bad for Christian parents. That's bad for Christian schools. Crown College, which is out in St. Bonnie, and then University of Northwestern, which is in St. Paul, and a couple of families have now sued the Walz administration over them. That this is discriminatory. These schools require all students on campus to share their Christian beliefs. Well, that's part of, what Jesus talked about with take the gospel to the ends of the earth. That's
I remember reading that in 17th Corinthians part 36.
Okay.
Well, that's, I'm not wild on a court challenge there. I think that it's going to get challenged because it's unconstitutional.
It is
unconstitutional. It should, but courts aren't where I like to take that stuff. Yeah. I predict that will go all the way to the Supreme Court because I don't trust the Minnesota courts to deal with that.
Right.
Maybe a district court could get an injunction. It seems, why are religious schools always targeted like this? I mean, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If school is about getting an education,
mm-hmm.
why does it matter then where you're getting it?
Right.
If you're homeschooled or at a charter school, or if your family decides they want faith intermixed in education, that's their choice. Why is it that they're always targeted in these bills?
Well, because it is one of the last things that's standing in the way from their dystopia that they're trying to
even with all
accomplish.
The churches that have caved. I mean, most churches I know have caved.
There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them that are refusing to stand anymore and just going with what's popular, putting out a social gospel and ignoring everything that Christianity has held dear for 2,000 years.
No, I mean, I think it's the majority of them. I think.
Oh, your mainline denominations, and you get some of the evangelical churches to buy into that too.
Well, and here's the thing. Everybody's entitled to God's love, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
But when you erode standards, that comes with consequences. We've seen that all the time.
Yeah.
When you have no standards on behavior,
mm-hmm.
that leads to what we have now.
Yeah.
So, but it's Christianity that is always targeted.
Oh, they don't go after the Muslims.
Absolutely not.
Oh, no.
Nor should they. They shouldn't go after any of them.
They shouldn't.
So, but
just yeah, it's an unequal standard.
It's so disturbing just how, growing up, I knew a lot of people on the left who were devout Christians who would never act like this. It's just the party's changed. It's a secular party now. It is out of Marxism now. I mean, one of the tenets of Marxism was to destroy God. I mean, it was destroy God, destroy capitalism. That was the whole. Environmentalists are like that. Environmentalists are all atheists because the environment is their God. They don't believe in anything beyond the sun and the moon and their own selfish lives.
Yeah, it's true. The Bible's very clear. You love the sinner. You love the sinner. You hate the sin.
I think I came up with that.
Do you? All right.
That's in Genesis 7.63.
No. Oh. Wrong testament.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's Matthew and Luke 6:14, I think.
Okay.
I know my verses, Jay. Don't try to quiz me on that.
Okay. But yes, you have seen increasingly where the left is coming after Christianity. Now, I'm sorry, but you can't just rewrite the Bible, although they're trying. Who was it recently? Had AI create a Bible. It was one of those wacko green groups. I think it was a Sierra Club maybe, and it took out all this stuff and added stuff around environmentalism, and it's just nuts. Anyways, also, to create the kind of world that they want. I don't know. I'm not saying that there aren't atheists that can have good morals, but over and above, when you take God out of a society and you have an atheistic, humanistic society, you get enough people who do not have a moral compass. You get enough people that are lawless, and you get what we have today because you are no longer following that Judeo-Christian framework that we have followed.
You get Chicago.
Right.
New York.
Exactly. You get people that are all for themselves. So rather than having an atheist that's operating in a Judeo-Christian environment and is able to uphold some of those morals, you have instead a bunch of people that refuse and reject the whole Judeo-Christian framework, and you end up with bedlam. You end up with chaos. You end up with protesters laying in the streets. You end up with abortion up till birth.
You end up with Hamlet.
You end up with...
It's Hamlet.
Yeah.
Remember the main character? I can't remember who it was. I was forced to read that in college. Yeah, whatever. Comes out and it has a world of no moral value, but they still have personal. And that's where I think maybe you go with atheists. Maybe they don't base their morals on Christianity, but they have personal, pride and personal things like that. But I go back to something like Hamlet, where you get into a world with no moral compass whatsoever. I mean, that's where we're going.
Yeah.
So, but it's just. The thing is, today it's so naked. Mm-hmm. It's so in your face now.
Yeah.
This is something that just would not be so out there 30, 40. Maybe it's good that it is in a way, but I just, there's so many things coming at you. You can't defend yourself here.
Right.
I go back to this. I mean, this education bill, by the way, it did pass the Senate 35-32. One Republican, your friend Carla Nelson.
You're kidding me.
Is the one who supported it. All 34 Democrats supported it. By the way, don't tell me there's a moderate Democrat in Minnesota.
No.
There isn't one.
No, there's not, because they all voted lockstep on every one of these super extreme measures, from the abortion bill to the transgender bill to the well, all
I
of
don't
it.
even want to recite them.
We have gone
Gun control.
Yes.
That's now law. That passed. So, yeah, I don't want to hear such thing as a moderate Democrat.
Not
that
here.
Unequivocally does not exist in the
Nope.
state. But, you know, one of the things I think that has to be really studied is with these school boards and what they can do and how do you fight this? I mean, this is I come back to how do you fight this? You and I bring it back to the local level all the time. How do we do this? Well, it's a three-pronged thing. Number one, you have to fight this legally.
Yeah.
You have to fight it with new people on your school board and new people in the legislature. I mean, that's how it's going to happen. The people who are there, stay there. We're going to get more of this. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And I don't care whether you're a Democrat or Republican or what you are. You got to stop the team red, team blue. You got to stop that. And you got to start thinking about what's best for kids. Not what's best for whatever, with the Republicans and Democrats, whoever greases their palm. Stop looking at it through the prism of liberalism and conservatism. And conservatism, I don't even know what that is anymore. Start looking at it from what is good for kids and what isn't. Stop putting the adults first. Stop putting the bus drivers first. With all due respect, if the kids aren't performing, then I don't give a damn about the adults. I don't care about the system. And we got to start thinking how we're going to change this. If that means leaving the public schools and doing these pods and these other alternatives that have popped up, we have the technology, I believe, to do that.
Absolutely.
So you got to start thinking what your alternatives are. Because you can stand there and pound sand and you can stand there and complain, and you have every right reason to do that. But we're community solutions, Jay, and part of that is getting people a blueprint to what they can do to change this stuff. I think that there are ways to fight this stuff, but I think it starts with winning at the local level. I honestly think that's where it starts. You want grants about this stuff? Okay, fine. We won't apply for any.
Yeah.
Start there.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I would like to see? Here's another thing I'd like to see. I'd like to see schools screw the state and adopt their own discipline policies. See what the state does.
Yeah.
I mean, is the state really going to take you to court? I don't know. Maybe not, but I would just do it.
I would think if it was a grant option, they couldn't take you to court over that. Grants are optional.
I would imagine so. But I mean, I would defy it a little bit.
Yeah.
Just see what happens.
I would push the boundaries.
Yeah. And but again, I come back to this. You're not going to make change unless you have the local level change. That's
Right.
where it has to start, is not in St. Paul. Unraveling St. Paul will be heck. But I think the locals on the...
Well, I also think if I were a superintendent or on a school board somewhere, my desire, my push would be to mop up the floor educationally with every other school district in the state. You have an opportunity right now to be number one, to get the best grades, the best graduation percentage, all of it. You have the ability to show how to run a school the right way and blow everybody else out of the water. And you can brag to parents. You send your kids here, they're actually going to learn something. They're actually going to be ready for a career. They are going to be able to choose whatever career they like because they are going to have the skills and the education to do it when no one else in this state will teach them.
Yeah, and that's kind of weird too. Like you go to these school districts and you see very, very little about their performance.
Right.
Almost nothing.
And that's even outstate. I mean, that's not just in the metro.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with geographics.
Right.
But it's funny, like if I had the highest test scores or graduation rates, that'd be the only thing on my website.
Yeah.
I would push that and push that and push that. I don't know what district that is in this state.
Right.
But they should be doing that. You're right. I mean, there is a historic opportunity. We'll use a nice corporate word there to kick everyone else's arse and just be, you know what? You pass your Indigenous Peoples Day.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to make sure they have the tools they need to succeed as an adult.
Yep.
No matter whatever you call Columbus Day, that doesn't matter. That doesn't give us a better education. So, I think you're right. I think that's what should happen. I just hope that they're not bogged down in minutia because it's going to take months to unravel this stuff.
Absolutely. We'll probably have to report on some of this stuff again as
Probably,
it gets
because
released.
my guess is that the administrations and the finance people who, they'll be working all summer trying to figure out, and here's another thing too. They're going to push the grants because just like the cities, they're going to try to figure out how they can get free money.
Right.
And I'll tell you, grants in education are really dangerous because it sets a spending standard. Mm-hmm. And then when the grant money goes away,
you need to get that money from somewhere.
Referendum time.
Yep.
So, look out for that. By the way, I just want to know. I want to know how many. If we're fully funding, I shouldn't hear crap about referendums.
Yep. They should be done. They're fully funded. Nobody needs any more money.
And fully funding, by the way, we were fully funded before because the formulas have built-in increases in them.
Yeah.
And we had $17 billion beyond that. By the way,
yeah.
Can I say something about the $260? Wow.
Oh,
Thank
I know.
you, state of Minnesota.
Thank you. Let me genuflect.
No, because let me hump your leg. Thank you so much. The surplus equals about $3,000 per person in this state that we were overtaxed. $3,000. We're getting 260. That's what we're getting.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell you, I'm not gonna get it.
Yeah.
Because $75,000 is now rich in Minnesota. I won't get it. My wife won't get it. We won't get it. So
unbelievable.
Yeah, my wife, the nurse, the essential worker, will not get. Neither one of us will get $260 checks. Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
But I mean, out of $3,000, $260 is what you're getting. I'd like to ask the Senate Republicans last year if they would have rather had the deal on the table.
Yeah.
Which I believe was twice as much. Even Walz proposed more money earlier in the year. So that deal doesn't look so bad now, does it?
It doesn't.
Senate Republicans last May. And I hate to say, you go back to shows we did where I was like, uh-oh, they're keeping the money.
Yeah.
Look what might happen.
I mean, think about this. $260 really is 4 trips to the gas station, maybe 4.5 right now.
For a family of 4 or 5, it's probably 1 trip to the grocery store.
1 trip. Yep. Oh, how generous.
I mean, I'd like to see somebody's car payments right now. I know what I'm paying.
Yeah.
Certainly wouldn't cover that. Well,
yeah.
You know, here, I mean, it's just the whole idea that that's some sort of it. I mean, and what are they going to have to do? Are we going to have to go apply for it and
yeah,
go through all those hoops and all that? So it's just, I don't know how anybody can look at anyone with a straight face and think that that's some sort of, some sort of great thing for Minnesota. That's just a total joke. So yeah, $260, zippity doo dah.
Yeah, don't spend it all in one place, Minnesota.
Well, and getting back to education, I mean, is there a way for? I'll tell you what. You know why I think local districts do not go after better results or care that much about them? The higher you make the standards, more likely you're not going to attain them.
Yeah.
And I think nobody wants to go in the wrong direction. I just think they just go, most people don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Just come here. Most people will just do it. We don't have to sell ourselves. And I'm not saying sell like there should be some advertising campaign here with my tax dollars. But I keep thinking, why don't locals make the curriculum harder or make it, well, because what might come with that might be lower student performance.
Yeah.
It's funny. Private schools do that, yet they don't have those results. See, if I were there, I would study what private schools do.
Absolutely.
Why does everybody want to go there? Why if there's a charter school that opens up, why are there 50 applicants per opening? If they're not doing a better job, then they shouldn't have any applicants.
Right.
They should be struggling to fill people.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the truth. So why don't the public schools look around and go, oh, geez, look where our kids are going. What are they doing that we aren't? Now, they don't have all the choices. That's true. There's some truth to that, but not a lot. I think, again, I go back to school districts have often argued for a lot of the things that they complain about now.
Right.
They wanted the state to take over funding. Now they bitch that it's not fully funded. They've wanted special education money to be at the state. Now they complain about it. They wanted all-day kindergarten. Now they complain about it. They wanted alternative schools. Now they complain about it. I mean, it's you just kind of shake your head at most of this stuff. So, I mean, why don't, if I were a business and if I wanted to open up a pizza joint, wouldn't I look at the most successful pizza joint and see what they're doing, see how much they're charging, see what their nightly specials are, see, what they had as sides, looked at their delivery zone. I mean, wouldn't I do all of that?
Yeah.
And try to better it?
You would think so, but when something's run by the teachers union or a group like that, that's not what they're looking at for.
But
they're looking for a monopoly.
But again, if they want to increase their monopoly, Jay, the way to do that is to offer a better product.
That is how we think. How they think is just by changing regulations and laws to force people into it, because that's the way that dictators think. We think about things from a free market perspective because we understand that. They think about taking choice away because when you run a subpar product, you have to force people to do things. And that is exactly what they do, because they can't come into agreement with a market-driven solution, because that's capitalism, which they believe to be evil. So you have to come into the other end of the spectrum. And what would a dictator do to force people to do what they want?
And see, I just don't get that. I don't get that mentality.
Yeah, it's about power. It's a lust for power.
Come to us. We're mediocre. I mean, what kind of a selling point is that? I just don't understand it. I mean, capitalism aside, I mean, I don't know that there's a state in the union that has a true voucher program. I don't know that there is. Now, there's states that public schools are better than others, but I mean, there really isn't competition anywhere.
There was one that passed recently.
I don't know. I could be wrong about that, but
let me see if I can find it quick.
Find it.
But yeah, I thought that recently one had passed somewhere. No, not Minnesota. School voucher programs hurt students. Thanks, time.
States with voucher programs, there actually are a bunch.
Huh.
There's 15 of them.
Wow. Yeah, that's what I thought. There were 538 blog. Looks like it lists some of them. I don't know. That takes reading.
This is an
That's
anti
hard.
voucher program
Oh,
piece, but Utah, Wisconsin.
yeah.
Hold on.
Wisconsin. Really?
Indiana, Ohio, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Maryland,
Really?
DC,
Maryland.
North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Mississippi all have some variation of.
Huh.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's great. I would like to see more of that.
Yeah. Hold on a second. There's some specifics in here. Arkansas has a Succeed Scholarship program. Mostly it's kids with disabilities, foster care, military families. Florida, it's low income, middle income, and students with disabilities. It's called the Empowerment Scholarship.
Huh.
$6,500 a year, $750 in transportation grants. Guarantee you they're spending more on that per.
Yes.
School Choice program in Louisiana, $2,500 a year. Low and income middle families in Indiana, the Choice Scholarship program. Maryland, the Boost program. Maryland, $3,000 a year. I mean, to see Vermont on here.
Yeah.
This is for students who reside in towns with no public school.
Huh.
Yes, Wisconsin, the private school choice program, $8,000 a year to low-income students. Oklahoma is mostly special needs. Same with Ohio. Although low income is part of that. Why is it always just low income?
Shouldn't it be for anyone to be able to choose where they want to send their kids? I don't know.
I mean, it's a start.
Yeah.
It's better than nothing.
Because in a lot of places like Minnesota, I mean, the poor kids are really the ones that get hurt because they're not able to send their kids to a private school or.
True, but middle class people may not be either. I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
If you're making another $5 or $10,000 a year, that doesn't mean that you have it to throw at a. And just because you're in a richer neighborhood doesn't mean your school's any better.
Oh, definitely not.
There's no correlation between more money and a better education.
Yeah.
So I guess, low income, you could start there. Maybe that's the right place to start, but it shouldn't end there.
No.
I mean, I guess we're in a state where $75,000 is rich.
But think about it. How often in a state like this one are they more than willing to take money from the families that have money? That's their whole MO. It's why you can't get a rebate check.
That's right. They're taking my money.
Right.
Am I wealthy? I don't consider myself wealthy. You know what I consider rich?
What?
When your money works for you.
Yeah.
You work hard for your money, you ain't rich.
Huh.
That's my take on it.
Yeah.
When you can make money just sitting on your computer, trading stocks or cashing out munis or something, that's when you're rich.
Right.
It's not when you work hard. So, yeah, so that means 35 states don't have that. And by the way, some of those are really red states. I mean, you're telling me some of the reddest states in the country, Jay.
Yeah.
Stop and think. think of some of the reddest states in the country. West Virginia,
Yes.
Idaho,
Yeah.
Wyoming, South Dakota,
Yeah.
Alaska.
Yeah.
None of these states have a voucher program. Nebraska.
Huh.
When was the last time a Democrat won the state of Nebraska? What? LBJ, maybe? I don't
Maybe. I don't know.
FDR? I'm not really sure. They might have voted for William Jennings Bryan back in the populist days, but you got to go back a while. I mean, there's a lot of Missouri's a very red state. Kentucky and Tennessee, Alabama, South Carolina, Texas.
Yeah.
None of these states have a voucher program. And I obviously there are differences there. I mean, there are not every state's a little different when it comes to that, but
Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand it either, because you would think you want your children to get the best education possible, but it's not about that, because again, the unions are in control, and the whole racket that they have set up in the whole, the lobbying network for, the schools come and they lobby, and then they give money to campaigns of the people that agree to do what they want. And
yeah, I should say too, the Supreme Court has many times upheld vouchers. One of the landmark cases, boy, this was a Zellman versus Simmons Harris. This is back in 2002 by a 5-4 vote upheld vouchers. The majority, which was Rehnquist, Sandra Day O'Connor, Anthony Kennedy, Clarence Thomas, and Antonin Scalia. The dissents, sure who you can imagine, John Paul Stevens, David Souter, Ruth Ginsburg, and Stephen Breyer. Pretty much,
yeah.
Because it's been challenged on the Establishment Clause of the Constitution, which is a red herring, in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
so this has been litigated, and I think that it will be interesting from Steve Jobs. Remember Steve Jobs?
Yes.
I know he's since passed away, but here's what he said about education. The problem is bureaucracy. I'm one of these people who believes the best thing we could ever do is to go full in the voucher system. If we gave vouchers to parents for $4,400 a year, private schools would be starting right and left. People would get out of college and say, let's start a school. That's the thing, entrepreneurship, boy, that's not something people like either.
Yeah, there's really no reason other than the unions to not do a voucher system.
President Trump's initial 2018 budget included $250 million for expanding voucher programs. I believe that didn't make it, but he did push for that. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the silly stuff continues. Unfortunately, I mean, I just, you know what I'd really love? I'd really love to debate a public school proponent sometime and try to hear their arguments and try to understand it. I just, for the life of me, I just don't.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. For people that are supposed to be smart enough to teach our children, they're not very smart.
Well, it's just like, how do you defend the job that has been going on in public schools? I just don't understand how that gets defended. Maybe I'm just dense here, but I don't get it. And why does the system always come first? The system always comes first.
Of
All right.
course.
Well, Jay, do us all a favor.
Okay.
It's that time again. You know, that was a pretty bad podcast. That was pretty bad stuff. You're gonna have to lift us up. Why don't you attempt to filing, jet flying, limousine riding, wheeling dealing, son of a gun. Jay, give us something good, something to look forward to, some words of inspiration. I know it ain't easy on this one.
Yeah. It ain't easy being green. I don't know. Where do you go with that? Because you've got all these kids that are stuck in a public school system that is not serving their needs. We see it all the time. And whether it is through violence or indoctrination or just bad policy, it is not serving our children the way that it needs to create a society that puts out the best and the brightest and to create a culture around success, a culture around being driven, a culture around reaching for the stars to create and innovate and invent. But no, we shoot for the lowest common denominator. Oppressed group. That's the one that we're going to put at the top of the heap, and everybody else has got to bow down and worship it. Well, I'm sorry. I don't agree. And I am tired of being forced to agree. No, that's not at all the way that it works here in this country. And that's not the way that we're going to behave. That's not the things we are going to recognize. No, instead, you need to take stock of your child's schooling experience. You need to figure out what kind of money are they bringing in? What kind of money are they spending? What kind of money are they still asking for after all of that? How do they treat the parents that are worried about what's going on in the school district? There's a lot here that we have to dissect. And schools seem to get kind of the bottom of the heap. We don't understand the people that we put on city or on school boards all that often. Or, we need to stand in a place where our kids are able to get the best education. We need to stand in a place where we are creating the next generation to go out, to work hard, to embrace a calling, and to live it out to the best of their ability. We see society deteriorating, crumbling around our feet everywhere we go. That's something we have to put a stop to. If we can't do that, we're going to lose this next generation. So what do? We have to make a stand. We have to link arms, and I know summer months are here. School is the furthest thing from your mind. But we have to turn and we have to recognize the issue, first of all. And then second of all, we need to demand that these places stop doing business this way. Oh, we can do this, and we don't need to be afraid. Indeed. So where are all of you at who care about your kids, who care about your grandkids, who care about the next generation? Where are you? Email us. Get a hold of us at commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. That's commsolutionsmn@gmail.com. And if we put our heads together and we start thinking about how we can bring good education back to our state, then let's do it. Let's join together. Let's put together a plan, and let's move forward. Let's demand accountability from these school districts and these superintendents. Let us not grow weary. Because if you can stay strong and you can stay motivated and we can stay strong and we can stay motivated, we can provide something better than we ever thought possible for our children. We love you, Minnesota, but now it's your turn to get to work. If I get too caught